In this video, you're going to learn how to work with linear programming or optimization problems, as they're sometimes called. We're going to go through two word problems together, one where you have to maximize something and one where you have to minimize something. So let's dive in and I'll explain as we go how to work with these types of problems. So the first example, it says a company makes two products, widget X and widget Y. Widget X yields a profit of $4 and widget Y yields a profit of $3. Overall, only 48 products can be made per day. The company wants to make at least twice as many of product Y as of product X. How many of each product should be made to maximize the profit? Now, my first tip for you is that when you're trying to maximize or minimize in these types of problems, I would write that objective, what's called the objective function first, and that'll help you to define what your variables are. So in this case, in order to maximize profit, let's say P for profit equals widget X yields a profit of $4, so that would be $4 times the number of product X that are made, plus $3 times the number of product Y that's made. So this is our objective function, or what we're trying to maximize. Now we want to talk about our constraints. So what are constraints? Well, constraints are things that are like inequalities. So constraints, and let's take a look at that. So here it says overall only 48 products can be made per day. So that means the number of product X and the number of product Y added together has to be less than or equal to 48 units. So that's one constraint. The other constraint is the company wants to make at least twice as many of product Y as of product X. So that means that the amount of Y that's made has to be greater than or equal to 2 times the amount of product X that it's made. Okay, so now the other thing you have to pay attention to is with these two products, could you make a negative number of these products? Well, not really. The least you could make would be 0. So this is kind of implied that X has to be greater than or equal to 0, and Y also has to be greater than or equal to 0. Now, X greater than or equal to 0, X equals lines are vertical lines, so greater than or equal to 0 would be to the right of the Y-axis. Y is greater than or equal to 0, Y equals lines are horizontal lines. That's saying greater than or equal to 0 is above the X-axis. So that's going to put us here in the first quadrant. So that takes care of these two inequalities. Now let's graph these other two inequalities. So this first one here, you can rearrange this into the y equals mx plus b form, the slope-intercept form, or you can do what we call the intercept method, where you set x to 0, and that would put y up here at 48. And then if we set y to 0, you can see x equals 48, so let's put that about here. So 48 comma 0. And if we draw a line, now it's equal to, so that means it's a solid line. If it was less than or greater than but not equal to, it would be a dashed or dotted line. And I could keep going, but in this case we know we're in the first quadrant. And then if we do a test point, let's say for example I do this origin point here, 0, 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. Is that less than or equal to 48? Yes, so that means that this side of the line is the true side, this side is the false side. If this was false, we'd shade the other side. So you're just testing to see which side is true. So that's going to put us right here. Okay, so I'll just shade that lightly here. And then for the other inequality, y is greater than or equal to 2x, this is kind of like y equals mx plus b, where b is 0, and we're basically going up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. So this is a line that looks something like this with a slope of 2. Okay, and here when the y is by itself on one side of the inequality, y controls a vertical direction, up and down. So if the y values are greater than or equal to, that means you're going to be shading above this line. So that's going to be on this side of the line, see above, and so that's going to put us right there. Now notice that where are these regions overlapping? They're overlapping right here. I'll kind of shade this in a little bit darker for us. In that triangular region, and this is what's referred to as the feasible region. It's the region that satisfies all of our constraints. But what's interesting, once you find this feasible region, your maximum or your minimum is going to be at one of these vertices of this like polygon or this shape that's formed. So what you can do is you can take a look at these points. Now we have this point here, 0, 0. We have this point here, 0, 48. But we have to solve for this point right here where these two lines intersect. So we're going to treat these just like equations, like x plus y equals 48 and y equals 2x. And what we can do is we can do a substitution. So if y equals 2x, let's put 2x in place of y. So now we have 3x equals 48, divide both sides by 3, and you can see that x equals 16. Now if we put 16 back in here or here, it doesn't matter, you can see y is going to come out to 32. And so that's the, the coordinates of this point right here, 16, 32. So what we're going to do is we're going to use those vertices of that feasible region to see, which one's going to give us a maximum profit. So let's go back now to our objective function, okay, our thing that we're trying to maximize or minimize. In this case, our profit, let's see, let's take this point here. So if x is 0, 4 times 0 is 0, 3 times 48 is 144, so 0 plus 144 is 144 for this point. Let's do 0, 0 next. 4 times 0 is 0. 3 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. So this one's going to be 0 here, which makes sense. If you sell, or if you make either of the products, you're going to have a 0 profit. And then let's check this point here, 1632. 4 times 16 is 64, and 3 times 32 is 96. And if we add that together, let's see, that's 160. So what that tells us is that this is giving us the maximum profit of $160 if we manufacture 16 of product X and 32 of product Y, and that'll satisfy our constraints but yet maximize our profit. So let's take a look at another example where we're trying to minimize something. Okay, for example number 2, let's dive into this one. It says a fitness company sells 2 brands of nutrition bars. Super Bar X costs $7 per bar, and it contains 20 grams of protein and 4 grams of fat. Fantastic Bar Y costs $4 per bar, and it contains 10 grams of protein and 6 grams of fat. Say that a bodybuilder wants to consume at least 140 grams of protein and at least 60 grams of fat per day. How many of each bar should they consume to minimize their cost? Okay, so before we do this problem, this isn't nutrition advice. Make sure you talk to your doctor or a nutritionist to find out what you should actually eat here. But in this particular problem, let's go ahead and figure out what we're trying to minimize. We're trying to minimize the cost. So let's write that objective function first. So the cost is what? It's $7 for Super Bar X. So $7 times the number of the Super Bar X plus it's $4 for Fantastic Bar Y. So this is going to be the cost equation. This is what we're trying to minimize, okay, our objective function. Now let's look at our constraints, like kind of the restrictions here. And the restrictions are that this bodybuilder person wants to consume at least 140 grams of protein per day. But it looks like the first bar, bar X, contains 20 grams of protein. So that's 20 grams times the number of that X brand nutrition bar, plus the Fantastic Bar Y, it contains 10 grams of protein, so that's going to be 10 times Y. Okay, and when you add that together, that has to be greater than or equal to 114. Now the fat, they also want to consume at least 60 grams of fat per day. So at least means greater than or equal to 60 grams. And it says that the first bar, bar X, Super Bar X, it contains 4 grams of fat. So 4 times the number of bars here. You're going to get, let's say you consume 5 of these, that'd be 20 grams of fat. And for Fantastic Bar Y, that contains 6 grams of fat. So 6 times the number of bar Y. Okay, good. So now we also have to take into account those implied domains that you can't really consume a negative number of each bar, so it has to be greater than or equal to 0 for bar X and greater than or equal to 0 for bar Y, which again, that puts us into the first quadrant here. Okay, so we took care of those two constraints. Now let's plot these. Now generally when the variables are on the left side of the inequality, I like to do the intercept method where I set x to 0 and solve for y. So if x is 0 here, you can see y would be 14. So let's just say this is 0, 14. If y is 0, 0 times 10 is 0, divide both sides by 20, you can see that x is coming out to 7. So let's just say this is 7, 0 here. And this is greater than or equal to. So equal to means it's a solid line. And I can do it the test point method. So if I put 0, 0, our origin in here, that's going to be 0 plus 0 is 0. Is that greater than or equal to 140? No, so this is the false side of our line. The true side would be this side. So we can shade like that. Okay, and then the other inequality, let's do the same thing. If we set x to 0, divide by 6, you can see y is 10, which is going to be somewhere over here. And if y is 0, 6 times 0 is 0, divide both sides by 4, you can see x is 15, somewhere way over here. And again, we have greater than or equal to. So equal to, it's a solid line. Greater than, let's double check now. What we want to do is we want to do a test point. So we pick 0, 0. That's going to be 0 plus 0 is 0. Is that greater than or equal to 60? No. So this is the false side. We want to shade on the other side of this line. So that's going to be right here. Okay, and so now what we're looking at is where do all these inequalities overlap? Well, you can see we're above this line. We're above this line. So our shaded region here, what's called our feasible region, is going to be right here. See if I can shade that in here a little bit darker for us. So basically, it's like kind of this shape here and going out, right? But we're trying to minimize the cost. So what we're going to do is we're going to test this point right here, and this point right here. That's going to satisfy our constraints, but then we can see which one's going to minimize our cost. Let's find out what this point of intersection is here. We're going to have to solve a system of equations. So we're going to treat these just like they're equal signs. We're going to say 20x plus 10y is equal to 140. And this equation here, 4x plus 6y is equal to 60. Now, what we can do is we can multiply this bottom equation by -5. And the reason I'm doing that is because that'll give us a -20x. And when I add it to this top equation, the x's will cancel each other out. So this will be minus 30y equals -300. So let's add these equations together. The x's cancel. 10y plus -30y is -20y. 140 plus -300 is -160. And if we divide by -20, y is coming out to 8. Now if we take the 8, we can put it back into either equation. I'll do this one here. 6 times 8 is 48. Okay, so that's 4x plus 48 is equal to 60. Subtract 48 from both sides. 4x equals 12. Divide both sides by 4, and x is coming out to 3. So this point right here is the point 3, 8. So let's go ahead and test those points now into our objective function. We're trying to maximize or minimize. And let's start with this point here. So 7 times 0 is 0. 4 times 14 is 56. 0 plus 56 is 56. So what that means is it would cost $56 to consume 0 of nutrition bar X and 14 of nutrition bar Y. Let's go down to this point here, 15, 0. 7 times 15 is 105. 4 times 0 is 0. 105 plus 0 is 105. So it costs $105 if you consumed 15 of nutrition bar X and 0 of nutrition bar Y. And then here at this point 3, 8, 7 times 3 is 21. 4 times 8 is 32. If we add those together, we get 53. So this one is costing $53 if we consume 3 of nutrition bar X and 8 of nutrition bar Y. Which one's giving us the lowest cost? It looks like this point right here, $53 would be 3 of bar X and 8 of bar Y to satisfy all the constraints, but yet minimize the cost. Now, you might be saying, Mario, isn't it always the one in the middle? Well, it really depends on the problem. It depends on the objective function. It depends on your constraints. It really depends. But you want to check each of the points that are on the vertices of that shape, that polygon that's formed from the overlapping regions. So great job if you're able to follow these two word problems. If you want more practice, check out the video I did previously right there talking about the same topic, optimization or linear programming. I'll see you over in that video.